What a thrilling opener we had just a week ago, and a busy week for the teams it has been. We moved from Indiana all the way over to the west coast of the United States, to Oregon and the Willamette Valley, a prevalent region for wine in the Pacific Northwest, and of course, for the reason we are here. The largest and most populous city in the state, Portland, Oregon, holds a venue that we visit today, the short and technical Portland International Raceway. At just 3.166 kilometers, it is the shortest venue that we visit all season, and that includes the ovals. An incredible round of racing just a week ago. It really pushed strategy to the front of our minds and that of the drivers. This circuit here, though, requires bravery, commitment, control of the tyres, and expect to see a little bit of fuel strategy thrown in there as well. It is time for round 2 of the Race IndyPRO Championship by FSR, with support of IMB Raceway, 3D Wrap and SimLab, and taking you through the action today as it was last week, myself, Liz McLeod, and Ewan O'Leary. Hello.
Hello, good afternoon, good evening to everybody at home watching. The shortest circuit on the calendar, as you mentioned, Lewis, but a circuit with such character here at the Portland International Raceway. It's surprisingly bumpy. The traction zones are actually surprisingly difficult as well. We saw a few guys spinning off in the AM series a few hours ago. So it's going to be a very interesting race. Strategy is going to be the thing that we're going to be talking about a lot, but there's also going to be some great on-track wheel-to-wheel battling as well, as you can see there. 15 laps for the sprint race, a whopping 50 laps for the feature race, but don't worry, it's not going to take hours. The lap time is only just over a minute here, so it will be all normal and all very exciting as usual.
Yeah, the short races that we saw back in Indy, obviously that's the case it is for the season on the road courses. The final 2 rounds of the season, though, we take on some ovals. That will be very, very exciting. A way to end the season. Of course, the championship we'd expect to be fairly close by that point, considering how things went just a week ago here at Portland International Raceway. We're about ready to go into qualifying, and in qualifying, the way it works, pretty simple. Each car has 3 runs, so they get effectively 3 timed laps across the entire session. They can do those whenever they want within the session, but things are pretty tight. And like you say, it's as much as it's a short circuit, lap time's around about a minute. It's so very, very tricky. It's very bumpy. The curbs are very, very high, and it's kind of hard to throw them across. We see Martin Stefanko, who took race victory in the feature race last time, and we'll see if he can repeat the feat here at Portland.
Yeah, we will indeed. He's going to be one of the first. He's actually not going to be one of the first, but he is out there at the moment, setting his first of 3 lap times that these guys get. They get 3 runs in it, I guess. 1 out lap, 1 in lap, and obviously your flying lap. And you get to do that 3 times. So 3 attempts really at a flying lap to get up the order in qualifying, which we're expecting to be very close indeed. This is a hot spot for traction, by the way, and you just demonstrated it there actually. Out of turn number 7, it is a little bit tricky on the rear tyres, as we know the rear end is quite uncontrollable actually in this Indy car. Even though Alan Tarzich, the tuner of this car, has done a great job with it, it is still difficult to exciting to watch them try and drive it anyway, as the first few times now begin to come in.
Yeah, Ricardo Costa heads to the top of the sheet, but don't expect that one to last. We've got the likes of Francesconi and Marocek setting some decent times. Coming across the line, Alan Tarzich goes onto pole position at the moment. Yuri Toman directly behind. That's one thing that I forgot to mention, is that it's a private session, so they don't see anyone else on circuit. They've got the free track to themselves to set the time whenever they wish in this session. See who fires first. Alan Tarzich, who has currently set the provisional pole time, a 10th clear. As we said before, it is a fixed setup in this. You said that Alan Tarzich was the one who made the setup. He is indeed. He's effectively the helper. He's the one that comes along, builds the setup that everyone drives on. Everyone is on the same stuff. There is only one thing they can change, and that is the front ARB, and that is the anti-roll bar. They can change that whilst driving. They can't change that in the pit lane. It's just whilst driving. There's an adjustment that you can do, at least as far as I remember. And in doing so, it really, really can affect it does affect the balance of the car quite a little bit, as Berliak comes across the line into 3rd place, the winner of the first race, the sprint race last time, an actual mistake on strategy. It does really affect the balance of the car when you change that anti-roll bar, and with that, tyre wear as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Just turn it down, make it a little bit softer. You can get a bit of a more pointy front end if you wish, and you can also stiffen it up a little bit if you want some more understeer in that car, but that's literally the only thing you can do as Alex Siebel comes over the line into 6th position. All the big names, all the usual suspects up there at the front at the moment. It's a 1 minute 0.6 from Tarzich at the moment. Jordan in 2nd place, as he was for the feature race in the Indianapolis GP. And then Burlak 3rd, Mrozek doing well in 4th. But I don't believe he participated last time out. Even if he did, he didn't make much of a name for himself. Anyway, it's good to see him up there at the moment. But indeed, Simoncic, who else has just gone to the front of the field there with a 1 minute 5.
Double FSR world champion Jene Simoncic, as you say, to the top of the sheet. We've got 3 new drivers for you in the IndyPRO series. Craig Baxter, Ferris Stanley and Wojtek Polesny all jumping into the Pro Championship. Of course, Ferris Stanley, winner of the first race in the AM category of this, and we're watching Wojtek Polesny come through the final corner. With that, we've also had Chris Shepherd. He's not here this round. There's a couple of other drivers missing, so there's no UK drivers here today. And across the line, Wojtek Polesny. Not really too impressive for Polesny. He's quite far down the order. Yuri Toman, very impressive in the feature race, and also in practice building up to this, incredibly impressive on the timesheets and setting purple in the first sector. And it's looking pretty good for him.
It is looking pretty good for him, actually, although that second sector is not quite what he was looking for. We'll see how he flies through this final one, hitting the apexes on the left and the right and maximising the room he has. He's actually nailed that. Oh, what on the traction. He did so well, and then right at the end just got that slide too heavy on the right foot. Now, what is it going to be on the long run to the line? It's not actually an improvement. He will be a little bit disappointed with that, but Dennis Jordan is also going quite fast out there at the moment.
Yeah, Pebble first sector, decent middle sector. He's looking very much in contention for a potential pole position. Overdoes the final corner, though. There is a bump right there as you're trying to turn in, and there's a bit of disappointment there for Dennis Jordan, who had the victory snatched from his hands last round, whilst he was in a bit of a battle towards the end of the race with Martin Stefanko in that feature race a week ago. Alan Tarzich, another driver who feels like he might have had a race snatched out of his hands. That one by Petr Berliak, the first race of the season. Looked very impressive on form pace-wise. Had a bit of an incident with Janis Brakshock, who's not here today. There was a bit of an incident. We'll get into that. That was the one where they got pushed across the line. we'll go into that later. Oh, a bit of Oppo. Oh, it's so close to the wall on the exit over the final and the 12th and final corner to the line, though. Is there going to be any improvement? Oh, no, there is not. He does not get ahead of Jene Simoncic.
It was close, but it wasn't quite close enough. Couldn't improve on his lap time in the end there for Tarzich. So Simoncic stays on top for now. Mrozek out of the... Oh, big bump on the exit and big hit into the wall there, I'm afraid. That is not what he was looking for. Burlak is going pretty all right at the moment in 5th position. Oh, no, he's not. Not anymore. Not now I've said that through the final corner. He must have overdone it down there at turn 11, the right-hander. You just go too deep into the first part of that chicane, you can go even deeper into the second part, and this might be exactly what happened to Burlak as he comes into the chicane. He's actually hit the first apex, but he's bounced off the curb, not quite the way he wanted to, and it's shot him way out to the outside. He's nearly got lost there as well, actually, finding the circuit again, but he won't be improving on that lap time, and he's going to have one more attempt at this for the final few moments. Yeah,
nearly went down the drag strip there. He went so far off the road. The thing is, through that chicane, it must be noted, at least as far as I was having a conversation with Tarzich yesterday, a couple of days ago, and he was discussing that they've made some adjustments to the circuit. You can see there's some extra grass that's been added to basically stop people from exceeding at various points. They've also effectively lowered the sand and stuff around that chicane, so when you go over the chicane, the car bottoms out, and that's what you saw there with Berliak, is that he basically went too far over to the right hand side in the second part. The car bottomed out, and at that point you're going in a straight line, and the speed they're carrying through it, well, there's only one place you're going to end up in that scenario, and that is off the road. Purple first sector for Jene Simoncic. He's a 10th clear at the moment on that pole position, ahead of Alan Tarzich, Stefanko as well. They're all behind. Alan Tarzich has started what will be his final lap of the session. What can Jene Simoncic do? He's completed the first sector, complete the second, down in the second though. Not by much, but by enough. It's a fair margin. He's going to throw it through the chicane, and we'll see if he can improve and pick up any further time to assert himself at the top of the timesheets. It wasn't a good first sector for Alan Tarzich, and he's done with the session. He calls it there. It wasn't great. What does Jene Simoncic do? To the line. He's got a 1:00.529 to beat. He improved by 7 thousandths of a second. Moved his way up the order. Dennis Jordan purple, Martin Stefanko green in the first sector, Ewan.
Yeah, it's all looking very good for some of these guys out there at the moment. Williams Esport with Stefanko and Burlak going quite fast at the moment. Jordan, though, especially fast in the first sector. Stefanko down a little bit now as he throws it through the chicane one more time. Misses the apex ever so slightly, though, and he's a little bit wide and not quite ideal. With 1 minute to go in this session, this is going to be his last opportunity. Down towards the line now, and Jordan's middle sector not that great either. Toman goes into third. Where's Stefanko going to go? He improves, and he's now back into third.
Yeah, great final sector there from Yuri Toman. Keep an eye on Dennis Jordan. There he is. He's crossed the line. It was a brilliant first sector for Dennis Jordan. Unfortunately, the rest of it didn't really come together. Great final lap, though, from Yuri Toman. From 9th, as you said, up to 3rd position, then demoted in the final moment down to 4th. What a session it was. Still got a little bit more time on the clock, though. Burlak on a time. Most of the drivers have completed their allotted stints. Can Burlak improve? Do what he does through the first sector. It's 21.5. That is not good enough, ladies and gentlemen. That is absolutely not good enough. That's a good 3-4 tenths off of the running. So no improvement there. No, Roivers looking pretty good through the first sector. Not great through the middle. When he crosses the line, stays 14th. So no improvement there. Michi Hoyer down in P18. That's not very good for him.
No, I don't know what's happened to Michi Hoyer in the last few weeks. In the last couple of weeks, indeed, he's not found his way with this car. It looks like he was struggling last week as well. An uncharacteristic performance from him, and once again, way down the order. Like now, this is not going to be an improvement as he comes over the line, unless he's doing something especially special, but he hasn't. He's going to be in 6th. Oh, Hoyer right at the end.
There we go.
He's saying how he's not been doing quite so well. And then in the end, he gets it together on the very final lap of the session. Here comes Philip Kraus over the line. Where can this put it? 4th place. That's very, very respectable from him.
Well done. The pro champion on the main category, the one below World Championship, goes to 4th place. Great final lap there from Phil Kraus. Burlak a little bit down the order, down in 8th place. You can see there the winner of the first race. He did qualify 6th last time. But yeah, down in 8th this time. Whether he'll accidentally pick the wrong tyres and still win the race, who knows? That's an interesting qualifying session from Phil Kraus. Jani Simracich, a name that we know very much, right at the top of the order. And as you said, Michi Hoyer there, jumping his way up the order, 7th place. Remember in the previous race, he qualified all right. He was inside the top 10. I think he was 9th. Did not have a good sprint race, dropped down to 16th place, and then moved his way back up the order with some decent strategy over the length of the feature race. And that's the thing with the feature race in this, is that you can move your way forward, Ewan.
Yeah, you can. That's the beauty of it. As he's saying, Hoyer put it to great effect last time out. Finished 15th in the feature race, ended up halving that position to 7th in the second race of the day. As we look down the order for any big names who have really missed out. Obviously, Ferris Stanley and Craig Baxter are here, and they weren't last week. Ferris Stanley was doing the Indy Arm Series only a few hours ago, as he is back in the driving seat once again. As we look to everybody down the field, all 24 drivers, and there's the front of the field once again. Simracich, after an uncharacteristically poor, by his standards, race at the Indianapolis GP circuit, he's right back on form here at Portland.
Indeed, looking good. Whether he can win that first race or not, the strategy is curious. We'll dig deep into that in just a moment. But before that, I think it's time for us to take a little look around the Portland International Raceway. The man who's qualified in 7th place, he's been doing it for a little while. It's time for a Michi Hoyer lap guide.
Welcome everyone, this is Formula Sim Racing. My name is Michi Hoyer, and I'm proud to take you around the Portland International Raceway, which is host of round 2 of the race IndyPRO Championship by FSR. Going to take you around one flying lap as we go across the line and brake hard for turn 1 and 2. An interesting and tight chicane that will feature a lot of overtaking and dive bombs as overtaking attempts. Want to be early out of this chicane on the power to turn 3 into turn 4, 5, 6. A triple apex right-hander, and as you can see, the car is challenging to drive. Very stiff setup in the back. Remember, the setup is fixed. As we go into turn 7, want to be early on the power. Car is wiggling and squealing on the back as we go into turn 8. Same there on the exit. car is interesting and difficult to drive. Also that turn 8, interesting plates for doing overtakes as it is wide open towards the apex. Coming up turn 9 and 10, the quick chicane before the final turn of the circuit. Don't want to go too wide as there is a strip of grass. Final turn early on the throttle because you need all that speed for either defending or overtaking into turn 1. And guys, that is 1 lap around the Portland International Raceway, and we will see lots of fun racing coming up for this sprint and feature race.
That was quite an impressive qualifying session there here at the Race IndyPRO Championship by FSR with support of IMB Raceway, 3D Wrap and SimLab. Another thrilling qualifying session. Looking forward to another couple of thrilling races. We've got the sprint race coming up for you very, very shortly. Of course, we've got to give our massive thanks to the race for hosting us here today. There's plenty coming up on the channel. Next weekend there's live coverage of the 7th and 8th round of the British GT Championship at Snetterton. There's only 3 races to go in that championship and it's wide open. There's a sim racer in the mix as well, that'd be James Baldwin, world's fastest gamer. And of course there's round 5 of Super GT. That's just passing the halfway point in the championship and just 5 points separates the top 3 in GT 500. Live coverage of those events happening here on the race, so don't forget to subscribe, hit the notification bell and never miss a video on the race. Here though today, the Race IndyPRO Championship by FSR. Again, that session, that qualifying session, super tight. Jone Simičić, our double world champion, on the pole. Myself, Lewis McGlade, Ewan O'Leary. Ewan, how does he keep doing it?
Well, that's the million-dollar question. I think all the drivers in the race would also want to know how he keeps doing it. But the truth is, he didn't manage it really last week at Indianapolis. For some reason, there just wasn't that kind of Jone Simičić spark that you normally see when he gets into a car. It just comes alight almost. Not literally, of course, but he manages to make it do things that everybody else seemingly can't do. But last week, he just couldn't. This week, though, he seems to have found some form. Here's the standings in the championship, by the way, and you can see what I mean. Simičić, 2 4th places in the 2 races that we had at Indianapolis. He's tied on points with Tarzich, who won the first race, but then had a lackluster feature race. But at the top, it's Stefanko who won the feature race, and Burlak is just 1 point behind him. And I've got a bit of a point to make about this, really, because we're knocking Burlak's sprint race strategy from last week, saying he shouldn't have gone on the alternates so early on. But in the end, he won that race comfortably, and in the end, he's only 1 point off the championship leaders. So is it more viable to win the race having used the soft tyres in that sprint race than we think it is? I think it's actually a better option than starting on hards and still being down the order anyway.
Yeah, looking pretty close to the top there. Of course, 1 point only separating the 2 Williams esports drivers, but obviously things are going to remain very close. You spoke there of strategy. You can see there, this is a little graphic showing you the strategy that happened. There's a few points in this that we need to go over. The race winning strategy was to take primes in the sprint race, and I think most of us feel that that's really kind of like where you should be doing it. Whether you take your primes at the start of the feature race though, or at the end, or in the middle, is completely up for debate. Tarzich took it in the middle. Obviously didn't really work out for him. He was in an incident with Janis Brakshaw. Stefanko went alternate prime, so he took the hard tyres at the end. Jordan, who in my opinion was on the better strategy, if I'm honest, he took primes at the start and then did alternate. Very impressive. One other driver that we need to point out, at least on this list, Francesconi, number 44, you can see there, takes prime in the first race and then does the 3 alternates in the second race. Now, this is not allowed. The rule in the championship is that over the event you must take 2 of the prime compound tyre. Now, you can only take, it only counts one tyre from the sprint race, and that's the tyre that you start on. So if you pit and take a second compound tyre, it does not count towards your allocated 2 prime tyres. You must take, effectively, if you want to, 1 in the sprint race and 1 in the feature race, or you take 2 in the feature race and then don't do anything in the sprint race. Those are your options. You can't take 1 or can't take 2 in the sprint race, Ian.
Yeah, absolutely. That's to I didn't actually think of that myself, but clearly some of the drivers behind the scenes have not read the rules and thought that might be a good idea. Went for it. Unfortunately, it is not allowed. Unfortunately for them, anyway. And we've got some more disqualifications to speak of. Not only Francesconi, who took those 2 prime tyres in the sprint race, and then not in the rest of the race. That is not allowed. But also, it was Braxok and Zooks, actually, I think it was, for the pushing over the finish line that you saw at the end of the feature race we saw last week. That is obviously not allowed. They were both disqualified, and I believe they've both been banned from this race as well. So a pretty serious penalty, and I think they'll know not to do it again after that.
Yeah, it was a bit, I mean, we laughed at it a little bit, but it was a bit silly at the time. Of course, those 2 have been replaced by Craig Baxter and Ferris Stanley for this round. And to be fair, actually, here we are. We're sat here talking of this championship, of everything that's going on and how tight it is. We don't know what we're fighting for. There are prizes up for grabs. Of course, you want to be the champion anyway, but there are still prizes up for grab. The drivers' champion gets a bundle from IMB, so massive thanks to IMB Raceway. They get a €150 SimLab voucher, and they get free entry to the FSR 2021 season. The team's champion as well gets €125, and then P2 in the teams gets 100, and then P3 in the teams gets €75. So there's plenty up for grabs regardless. But it's a lot of pressure to deal with to even get those, and to be fair, winning this championship, to be a champion in FSR of any description is very good anyway, and especially one in a championship as prestigious as this. The Race IndyPRO Championship by FSR sprint race coming up. The order on your screen, you just saw the top 4 fly by. Jone Simičić, Alan Tarzich, Martin Stefanko and Phil Kraus round out the top 4, and then the rest of them you see Toman, Dennis Jordan, Michi Hoyer and Peter Berliak rounding out to the 4th grid. Then we've got David Marocek, Alex Siebel, Pelesny on his debut in the championship, doing very well, just outside the top 10. Michael Francesconi will learn from his disqualification last round. He had both of his results removed. Ricardo Costa, Kalashi, Roivers and Van der Neat, Netrex Grand Prix down there, 15th and 16th. They'll be looking to work their way a little bit further up the order. Borja Milan, a bit further down the order than we'd expect, and with a few less Monaco cars on the grid, he'd be fighting out by himself. Ferris Stanley and Craig Baxter on their debut qualify ahead of Jan Vosnica. And then we've got Matteo Caruso, well down on his teammate. Yuka-Pekka Lalu, the only driver to do a one-stop strategy in the feature race last time, will be hard-pressed to do that today. Jeffrey Fournier, Eros Masciuli down in 24th place on the grid. And that is our entire 24-car lineup here at Portland. Our focus then, Ewan, heads to the front of the grid and Jone Simičić.
It does indeed, and what tyres are these guys on? It's a bit more split than it was last week. The top 4 have all gone for the primaries, but Toman, Jordan and Hoyer, notably, all on the alternates. How are Simičić, Tarzich, Stefanko and Kraus, how are they going to deal with that? Are they going to lose out a lot? Because the delta we saw in the AM race, the delta between the 2 tyres is quite big actually. So we may see the top 4 get absolutely flattened in the early part of this race. But it is going to be very exciting whatever happens here, because we've got some very fast cars trying to come through the field against some not quite as fast cars. They're still very fast, but obviously a little bit slower. But here we are, final chicane, final corner. These guys gridded up and they're ready for 15 laps at Portland.
Indeed, the Race IndyPRO Championship by FSR about to get its 2nd round underway. Cameron Roger, our race director and safety car driver, pulls it into the pit lane, and Jone Simičić is ready to go alongside Alan Tarzich. The strategy is going to be very, very crucial today. We'll get into that as the race goes on. The sprint race about to be underway, 15 laps ahead of us, and Jone Simičić has gone, and he's cleared off massively. He's pulled out quite a margin there on Alan Tarzich. Around the outside goes previous race winner Martin Stefanko. Phil Kraus as well holds on to 4th place, and Yuri Toman directly behind, switch positions with Phil Kraus. This is a little bit further down the order as Dennis Jordan on the alternate tyres is making a little bit of progress as there's some drivers off in the background. The alternate tyres moving forward with Yuri Toman up to 4th place, getting past Phil Kraus, but that's the only position that he could do. Peter Berliak this time taking the primary tyres, as we've got some chopping and changing, but at the moment it seems like a decent start from Jone Simičić.
It is, he has converted, and now down the inside for Toman, it looks like he's going to get third place away from Stefanko, and he has. Dennis Jordan up, crawling all over the back of Philip Kraus at the moment, who swings very wide through this long turn 9, and Toman himself is under a bit of pressure into the chicane. He holds on for now. Look at that in the background though. Kraus having to really getting his ears boxed at the moment. Down the inside maybe for Hoyer, not quite. He's going to wait another corner, it looks like, down into turn 1 though. He should have this move done. Jordan is through into 5th, and Toman is up into 3rd with Hoyer following them both.
Yeah, here comes Hoyer down the inside of T1. Watch out for it through T1 because the brakes are very, very tricky through here. In the background of that, we've got Alex Siebel and Petr Berliak going side by side with contact off of the corner as well. Racing very hard. We look at Polesny, who's maybe trying to find his way through as well. Siebel, though, passed on Berliak. Ahead of that, Dennis Jordan's now on the back of Martin Stefanko after taking those alternate tyres, and the top 3 are separated by just a second. Phil Crouch said he's getting his ear boxed. To be fair, he really had to back out of that into the chicane because that was a ballsy move from Dennis Jordan.
Yeah, it really was. It was brave, but it paid off in the end. It looks like Toman is going to try and get through on Tarzich, and he does. Yeah. Tarzich on the inside. This is going to be brave for Toman around the outside. He can't do it though. Tarzich holds on well, and this is exactly what he wants to do, holding back those alternate higher runners so that he can hold on to a few more points himself. We'll see if he can manage it though, as Polesny dropping all the way down the order now. On those alternates, it's not worked out for him on this occasion. Tarzich under pressure himself into turn 1. He's going to hang it around the outside for the first part. He's got the inside for turn 2. What can Toman do on the traction? He's pretty good. Round the outside for turn 3. It's close. Can he do it round the outside of turn 4? This would be spectacular if he can manage it. He can't. He cuts back to the inside, and now he's losing a lot of time.
Yeah, Alan Tarzich there just hanging on. It's allowing Jone Simoncic to run off into the distance, but the difference between the primary and the alternates is quite high around here. So suspect when Jiri Toman does eventually get through on Alan Tarzich, he should be able to clear off and set his sights on a potential race victory. Tarzich, though, was telling me before this, like we were saying, they can adjust the front anti-roll bar, and if you have it very, very soft, it makes the car very difficult to drive, but you really do look after your tyres ahead. Of this, we've got Michi Hoyer, who we're on board with there. Dennis Jordan getting really getting side by side with Martin Stefanko. Stefanko just holding on for now. Wow, a bit of a sight that we saw a week or so ago. We've got Phil Kraus with Siebel as well. The battle between Stefanko and Jordan was the battle for the race lead in the feature race. It's currently the battle for 4th, and Dennis Jordan with the run should be able to get through just in the foreground of that. You just saw him looking out, backed out of it though. Michi Hoyer's on his 6th though, so can't afford to back out too much. The two Germans battling out over 5th place, and Jiri Toman. I thought he was feeling it there on Tarzich.
Yeah, I did as well. Thought he was going to go for it, but he's just biding his time for now. He's clearly faster, we can see that, but it's quite difficult to overtake around here. It's not as easy as it was at Indianapolis. Berliak found it very, very easy indeed when he was in this situation, but Toman not quite finding it quite that easy. Tarzich, bit of a slide on the exit though. Is there enough of a slipstream? Is there enough of a run here for Toman down the inside into the chicane? I think he's too far back, to be honest. Tarzich defends. It looks like Toman's going to try and go around the outside, but he backs out of it once again. Tarzich defending well. Meanwhile, in the background, Stefanko goes off, and there's more contact. Hoyer trickles through as well, but Stefanko would have had his heart in his mouth there going across the grass.
Yeah, that was so very tight, and Toman's now on the inside, by the way, going into T1 on Alan Tarzich. We saw Tarzich hang it around the outside and make it stick, and Jiri Toman went for an undercut. Again, I don't think it's really going to work. Very similar scenario. Tarzich hangs on. Stefanko, as you say. The action coming thick and fast here at Indianapolis, Portland, not Indianapolis. That was a week ago. I'm getting very confused now. It is coming thick and fast, though. It is tight action. Matteo Caruso, by the way, has got up to 11th place. What's he doing?
He's having a great drive. That's what he's doing at the moment, inside the top 10 nearly, on the back of Boya Milan, who's also made a fantastic start. Toman down the inside to 7. That is brave, and they slide on the exit, both of them. They're going to run side by side through 8 and now 9 as well. Jordan could capitalise here if he's clever enough.
Here he comes.
Is he going to go 3 wide? Surely not into the chicane. Down the inside of Toman, maybe he backs out. Sensible manoeuvre there as Tarzich continues to defend and continues to defend well. It's all helping Simoncic as Jordan just taps the back of Toman. Tarzich just will not budge at the moment, and he is really helping out his compatriot Simoncic.
Yeah, Tarzich doing the work. And he's hanging on at least for now, but a little bit of a mistake there into T1, just overdid it, but Toman was too close to make anything stick on the run to T4. There's no door open there for Toman. Dennis Jordan, as you say, made contact with the back of Toman, but it was fairly light contact. I thought Toman was going to try and dive it back down the inside of the final corner, but it's not really an ideal opportunity for him. Tarzich, though, is it going to happen again? Yuri Toman does dive down the inside, locks up the front right, hits the apex beautifully, though, and lights it up out of the corner, but so does Tarzich. He's now going to be on the right-hand side, just close to the wall. Oh, it's so tight. This time, Dennis Jordan's not quite close enough to take any advantage. There's a bit of contact, a bit of bump drafting. Finally, the position goes the way of Yuri Toman, and Alan Tarzich is down to third.
He's finally down to third. That was a great battle between the two of them and a great defence from Tarzich as well. But now he's going to be under pressure, looking in his mirrors once again to Jordan, who's just behind him. Is there going to be a move into turn one? Probably not. The slipstream now is really helping Tarzich, but he's so strong into turn one, is Tarzich. It is really helping him defend, but he nearly actually hit the Toman there. Now we're going to get a bit of a chance to see what the delta between the primes and the alternates is like. The traffic is quite bad around here. It's difficult to get past, even with this tyre difference, and you're about to see just what the delta is between the two tyres. You can see Toman is already gaining.
Yeah, Dennis Jordan was having a little chat with me about strategy, and we'll go through that in the next race, but he was saying that he wasn't sure if it was going to be a 2-stop or even a 3-stop. A 1-stop is not on the table, but I think maybe he'll be considering that a little bit differently now that he's finding out how hard it is to overtake, especially with Tarzich ahead. That's not going to work. He does back out of it, and so does Hoyer behind. I thought he was going to maybe go for a lunge down the inside, but we know Dennis Jordan's a little bit smarter than that. He'll hook the apex a bit late and maybe try and line it up. Oh, just over the curb there was Tarzich on the exit of the 12th and final corner, and that's opened the door for Dennis Jordan. We've seen so many times that Tarzich is so good on the brakes, as you said, and he will surely try and hang us around the outside, but Jordan's committed. He takes to the curb, goes back for maybe an undercut, or goes around the outside. There's contact between the two. Tarzich is going to hang on, at least for now. Whoa, it's close. Here comes Hoyer.
Nearly went down the inside there, but Jordan gave him the room, so Hoyer's going to go for it. Not quite, maybe into turn. Do it there either. Now they're allowing Stiebel and Stefanko into the party. About to become a 5-car train now for third position. Tarzich still leading it, of course, with Jordan trying to find a way through. Hoyer trying to find a way through on him. Exhilarating racing between all of these guys. We're halfway through the race now, and these alternate tyre runners are not making it through the traffic quite as efficiently as I was expecting.
No, this could really work out for the likes of Jone Simoncic, of Alan Tarzich. I mean, at this point, Jone Simoncic, you're not really expecting him, even if he does lose the race, win to Yuri Toman, you're not expecting him to drop any further than realistically second. So at the moment, it's really working out for the likes of Simoncic. Down the inside again, Dennis Jordan tries to gain a position. They get so close to that wall on the inside, and this time it is surely going to work. There's the contact on the exit that we kind of expect. Takes a lot of curb through the inside of T3. This time, Tarzich surely has to back out, but it's going to open the door to Michi Hoyer as well. If he'd backed out a little bit earlier, he would have dropped in on 4th place, and Michi Hoyer goes all the way around the inside, and that gains him the place. So 4th place goes the way of Michi Hoyer. He overcooks though the next corner, and now Siebel's right on the back of Tarzich.
Yeah, it's just non-stop for Tarzich at the moment. Another big slide, another bad exit for Tarzich, and now surely he's going to be under pressure. He just swings out wide there. Is he letting Siebel through? No. It looks like he, surely not. He is at the moment. Siebel's on the outside for the chicane. They're going to fight on the way in, but Siebel gets 5th, and Tarzich has just lost 3 positions in 1 lap there. It just shows when you're in these trains like these guys are at the moment, if you lose your line, then somebody's going to fill that gap quicker than you can think about it, and now Stefanko's going to try and get down the inside. Tarzich is really not enjoying this at the moment. Stefanko tries to play late, he gets it, but there's mounting the curb there for Tarzich, and the big physicality on the exit as well. It looks like Stefanko's lost a bit of time, and now Philipp Kraus is going to try and get down the inside. Not quite on this occasion, or is it? No, he can't get through.
Oh, Dennis Jordan's off. Dennis Jordan's off. Dennis Jordan has been off the road, now down to 5th place. My goodness. I think that contact, by the way, between Tarzich and Stefanko, as you say, Phil Kraus is getting involved in that. I think Stefanko hit the inside wall and pushed out wide. Let's have a look at the replay and see if we can judge. This is what's happened with Dennis Jordan. Coming through T4 at the moment. Is he just going to get a little bit of a slide? No, just understeer. Move that ARB a little bit softer on the front end, buddy, and you'll be all right. I think what I was going to say as well with Tarzich, I think maybe he's because I know that he wants to run this very, very soft on the front, so effectively he's got a pretty loose rear end. The thing is with that, is that you're ending up to burn out the rear end. That's why we're seeing him slip and slide all over the place. He's not really looking after his rear tyres. He needs to start using the fronts just a touch more to wear them out. 1 second now separates our race leader, Jene Simracers, to Jiri Toman in the background. Whoa, round goes Petr Berliak.
Yeah, he's had a terrible day. He really has had an awful day so far. He won this race last week, don't forget. He won the sprint race last week. Spinning out of control. Let's see what happened to him. On board right now, down to 23rd. After this incident, let's see what happens here. Down into the chicane. All looking fine so far, but he just pushes wide and then back onto the track. Hits that curb and spins around, loses a load more positions. What a terrible day for him so far.
But as had been said by our broadcast director, with Berliak there, he's already had an incident because he was far down the order then. So he's already had an incident on lap 3, we're told. We didn't catch that one, but he's way down the order. As now, Jiri Toman, easy as you like, past Jene Simracers. Simracers didn't even fight that one. There goes the change of position. Michi Hoyer is currently on the podium in the background. Alex Siebel is now over the back of him. We wondered where this pace of Michi Hoyer had gone. Suddenly figured it out, and he is now, securing what could be a podium. But Dennis Jordan's teammate Siebel is all over the back of him as he's slipping and sliding everywhere through T4. It is a flat-out corner normally, but as the race progresses, it gets a little bit harder. Francesconi, Polesny, and Craig Baxter have all been off at T1, by the way, for P10. They've been all over the road.
Yeah, it looks a bit crazy down there with all the positions changing. Polesny's been up and down the order pretty much all race so far. There's only 15 laps. He's been up and down like a bit of a yo-yo. As it's crazy in the background. Pretty crazy in this battle between Hoyer, Siebel and Jordan. It's all helping Simracers, who is in the best place of anybody right now. He's gaining a lot of points on quite a lot of cars, and some of them are using a better tyre than he is right now. He is looking very, very good, but don't forget, he is going to be reversed, and the order is going to be a little bit reversed, so he's going to be a little bit further down the order than he would like. However, that's the way the rules are. He will have known that, and he's got 2 alternate sets of tyres to use in the next race.
Oh, I know that Dennis Jordan and Alex Siebel are close friends. I think that might have been a little bit too close, as getting drilled a little bit was Alex Siebel, but nevertheless, they're still all right. They're still going, and they're still on the back of Michi Hoyer. You're correct there, saying that Jene Simracers could be in a great position on tyres because he's already taken the prime tyres, as has Tarzich, as has Stefanko, as has Phil Kraus. That reverse grid that you're speaking of, it's a random order between 6 and 12. So those are the positions that we think of, from Tarzich down to Francesconi. That's sort of like the bubble where you kind of like one of those is going to be reversed to the pole position. Last week it was P9, if I remember correctly, and it was Adam Maguire, that went on to the reverse grid pole. We'll see if who can take advantage of that at the moment. You'd kind of suggest that if it goes the way of Alan Tarzich, he's also taken the prime tyre. Stefanko as well. We know how impressive his strategy was last time. Nevertheless, Toman starts the penultimate lap of the race in the lead by nearly 2 seconds, and Michi Hoyer, who's a fair way off the back of his teammate, in third. We look further down the order. Borja Milan, who's moved his way up, he's on the back of Francesconi, but not quite close enough. Noah Roivers on the back of him, as is Kalashai.
Yeah, look at this train right now, coming all the way down into turn 1. Basically from Francesconi up in 12th, all the way down to about Mashuli in 20th place. It is a pretty fierce battle, and don't forget, in the sprint race, not everybody gets points. Only the first 17 get points in this race. So these guys down the order have got to be careful. People like Lalu and Stanley are out of the points. They will want to get something at least from this race, especially Ricardo. I guess they've used a set of prime tyres, but still, as Tarzich under pressure once again. He's gone deep. Surely Stefanko down the inside into the final corner. Textbook move from Stefanko. Can Tarzich come back at him though?
That was beautifully done by Stefanko, and credit as well to Tarzich, who saw that one coming and then didn't really fight it too much. He's now going to try and go around the outside of T1, and we've seen him do that a few times, heavily committed on the brakes, all the way around, slips and slides on the final part of that, just reached the limit of adhesion. There was just a brush between the two of them, and Stefanko holds firm around the outside of 2, through 3, and as we head through this long right-hand section, that was a beautiful display between those two, and Tarzich comes out second best.
He does indeed. Somehow we're on the final lap. This race has absolutely flown by so far. 15 laps almost completed, and Jiri Toman has done this absolutely to the script for the Varga Sim Racing driver. Put on the alternates, win the race, and then conserve in the feature race. He's done it really well.
Yeah, we wondered if he was going to get victory in that feature race, played strategy to a point, but this time he does get his comeuppance, and Jiri Toman takes victory in the third race of the Race IndyPRO Championship. Jone Simoncic and Michi Hoyer round out the podium for Burst Esports. We look down the order as we can see that Alan Tarzich is being followed across the line. My was that Matteo Caruso's got to 8th place. I'm sure Alan Tarzich will be happy about that, seeing his teammate up that high. The Jean Alesi Sports Academy getting 7th and 8th in that race. It may not have been the result that Tarzich was looking for, but Caruso, that is an excellent drive up the order.
Yeah, that is absolutely phenomenal for Caruso, but that race was absolutely brilliant from start to finish. Battles everywhere. The final laps, and a couple of us, as there were half a lap to go there, I just looked up and saw a final lap. That was a bit of a shock, but Toman would have known absolutely when that race was ending and where he was going to finish. He knew that he was going to be first from quite a long way out. Simoncic sort of gave that one to him, but he's playing the long game here. That was a smart race from Simoncic. He didn't win, and he might not even win the next race, but he's going to get a great haul of points this weekend, and that's almost certain unless something untoward happens. But yeah, as you say, Tarzich and Caruso, in terms of the team's championship, will be pretty pleased with that sprint race.
Yeah, Caruso had to use a set of the red tyres to come up the order, so he's got to take 2 in the next race. And as we've said, with Alan Tarzich and Stefanko and Jone Simoncic up there in the top 10, they've all completed at least one of their 2 required primary compound tyres. They've completed basically half of what they need to do. They only need to take 1 in the next stint, which, to be fair, considering the difference between the primary and the alternate tyres, could be very good. But there you can see the finishing order then. Jiri Toman wins the race. Jone Simoncic and Michi Hoyer round out the podium, with Siebel and Jordan. Evolution looking pretty good there. So for teams-wise, Burst Simplexity, Evolution and Jean Alesi Esports are reeling with a great race. Williams Esports, though, Stefanko inside the top 10. That's all they get. Phil Krause and Craig Baxter round out the top 10, so great drive for Craig Baxter as well to get into 10th place. Polesny, after being off the road, down in 11th place. Francesconi, Borja Milan, Noah Roivers moving up the order to say they might do a little bit of work. Kalashai in 15th place. Vandaniet, Vosnica, Jukka-Pekka Lalu, watch out for him in the next race. He experimented on strategy in the previous one, only took a single pit stop over the previous feature race, so keep an eye on him. Ferris Stanley down in 19th. Eros Mashuli in 20th place. Behind this, though, we've got Jeffrey Fournier, David Marocek, Petr Berliak. Second in the championship coming into this, now in 23rd place. Our only retirement of that race was Ricardo Costa. What happened with Berliak?
It was just a really, really bad race. One spin on lap 3, another one in the final 5 laps. And he is not going to be second coming out of this round of the championship. That is almost certain at this point. He's lost loads of points to all of his rivals. And he's lost a whopping 25 to Toman and a further 22 to Simoncic. So it is a really big loss for Berliak in this one, I'm afraid.
Yeah, for those of you tuning in wondering, what am I watching? This is the Race IndyPRO Championship by FSR. And we have had 3 incredible races across the championship. If you didn't catch last week's action, be sure to, for one, subscribe to the race and hit the bell so you don't miss this again. But also, once this broadcast's done, seriously, go back and check it out because it was incredible and it promises an excellent feature race coming up. It's been a crazy run over the first 3 races. We've still got plenty more rounds to come after this, though. We do take a 2-week break after the round today, but then when we come back, we do another back-to-back round of racing, and those 2 being on road courses. We finish the season on ovals, and I think that's where we're going to see some real spice in this championship, and that's where this really is going to bring out the best.
Yeah, as if we needed any more spice in the championship, we're going to get some even more at Apple Valley, and then the Indy 300 to round off the season. Very much looking forward to that, actually, and also looking forward to the other tracks we've got on this calendar. Portland today, of course, one more race coming up, and then we've got Sebring in 2 weeks' time, followed by VIR. 2 very different circuits to contend with in the next 2 rounds, and it's going to suit different kinds of drivers, different kinds of strategies that we mention all throughout these broadcasts. But one thing that does differ between Indy and Portland and the way that race played out is that Indy, it's a lot easier to overtake than it is at Portland. So those guys on the softs, if that happened at Indy, I reckon they would have finished 1, 2, 3, 4, no problem. But because it's a more difficult circuit to overtake here at Portland, then it meant that they couldn't get those positions that they wanted to. So in this race, I think more important than actually the tyre compounds that you use, I think are going to be staying out of traffic. It's a short circuit, there's cars everywhere, there's chaos, there's dirt all over the place, it's bad out there. So you need to keep in your own world and keep out of traffic to win this race. I think that's more important than the compounds these guys are going to choose.
Yeah, speaking of strategy and keeping on topic here, obviously, you've got to have your pre-race discussion with Mr. Dennis Jordan to find out what's going on. And he did send me some details prior to this, which I'm just going to sort of read out roughly to what's going on. The fuel tank is slightly smaller this round. It's only 37 litres. And in doing so, with them using 1.7 litres per lap, etc., etc., you can only really go 21 to 23 laps is the margin he said. It's a 50-lap race. And yes, you can stretch it to 25, but he was with the difference on tyre compounds, he said it's much more extreme here, red versus black. So forget any idea of a one-stop strategy. He even floated the idea, and I did say in the previous race, that there is a potential for a 3-stop strategy. Don't think that's going to happen. I think we're going to see 2. I think we're going to see people that need to take 2 blacks, take 2 black tyres and keep them as short as possible and then go as long as they can on the reds. But the idea that there could be a 3-stop strategy that might work, well, we'll have to wait and see. We've been given our reverse grid number, and that is P10. Gets the reverse grid. So Craig Baxter, I'm sure Beetlejuice will be well chuffed with that, takes our reverse grid pole. Phil Kraus will be on the front row with Matteo Caruso and Alan Tarzich. I'm keeping an eye on Alan Tarzich in this, and Stefanko. Those two, they're starting 4th and 5th. They've already taken a prime compound tyre, so they've only got one more to take in this. They can start the race in the alternates and basically try and push it hard. And I am going to say that Tarzich and Stefanko are going to start this race on the alternates. I
think I would agree with you on that one. Given the way that Stefanko's strategy played out last time, he's doing exactly the same thing, it looks like, on this occasion. At least he started the sprint race with the same tyre that he did last week. So in that vein, it is going the same. And for Tarzich as well, I think you're right. They'll both start on the soft tyres. They'll get to the lead. Well, that's what they'll hope for anyway. And then they will run away with it. Interesting in the Indy Am race that we saw a little bit earlier on is that Thomas Vack won the race by 30 seconds in the end. A whopping 30 seconds. A great drive from him. But he didn't have to overtake a single car on the circuit. If somebody can do that here today, like Craig Baxter, who's starting on the front of the order, and they can actually get themselves, out front in their own world, then I think they can win this race quite comfortably, purely because they've been not in traffic compared to everybody else.
Yeah, we've got 50 laps ahead of us then in the Race IndyPRO Championship by FSR. The feature race ahead of us. Baxter on pole, Phil Kraus behind, Caruso and Tarzich. Vision Lacey Esports Academy round out that second row, and that could be very important for the likes of Tarzich, having his teammate alongside him. Stefanko and Jordan, Siebel and Hoyer. And then the last couple of drivers. Oh, I think no, it's fine. Don't worry. I had someone just jump down the order there. But Jene Simičić then our runner-up in the previous race. Alternate tyres he took in that one. Yuri Toman in 10th. Got his teammate behind him, Pelesny, in 11th place. And then Francesconi, Borja Milan, Noah Roivers, Kalashi, and Danny van der Neet are there as well, down in 16th place. We'll see if Netrex can throw something strategically. They've been in sim racing for a long time, that team. Jan Vosnica for Brem GP, Yuka Lalu, Ferris Stanley on debut, down the order in 19th. Well, he's looked pretty quick in this car before, so don't panic too much about Ferris Stanley and his pace and ability to move up the order. You've got Jeffrey Fournier, David Marocek, Petr Berliak, Ricardo Costa round out the 24-car grid. Wow, what are we expecting to see? There's Cameron Roger. Doesn't really get to lead many races, so this is one that he gets to do. Tick. Nice. Insult him. It's fine. It's all good.
We got it in there. But there you go. Baxter, Kraus, Caruso, Tarzich, and Stefanko, all on the alternates.
Travis
and that makes the job
got a pole
of
on the left, 80 kilometres an hour.
And Stefanko's job a little bit more difficult because they've got 3 cars in front of them to overtake. They're on the same tyres, but I'm expecting the top 5 to absolutely run away in the opening laps, and I think the race winner is going to come from one of those 5.
Potentially. We've also got to keep our eye on the likes of Jordan, the likes of Sebring, Hoyer, and of course our double world champion Rd.2 Simracers. We know what kind of what he likes to play strategy, and Dennis Jordan as well. They're all strategy masters, and nothing short of a master strategy will do today. Craig Baxter on pole position then, alongside his sister teammate HME. The white and the red cars, the 2 sister teams. Matteo Caruso and Alan Tarzich behind. When does Craig Baxter decide to go? It was very, very late for Rd.2 Simracers. We'll see if Craig Baxter can do that again. The Race IndyPRO Championships feature race in round 2 here at the Portland International Raceway is about to get underway. 50 laps ahead of us, and Craig Baxter has gone. He's pulled away massively from Phil Krause. Matteo Caruso keeps an eye on his teammate Alan Tarzich, who's dived down the inside, drops it slightly sideways and gets to 3rd. Ho, ho, ho. He was wildly committed. Oh, and now Phil Krause has just had a bit of a snap, and that's opened the door for Alan Tarzich to get alongside and into T4. Oh, it wasn't quite enough. Phil Krause hangs on. Stefanko's getting into it with Mitchy Hoyer in the background, and Dennis Jordan snuck through as well.
He did indeed.
We're getting fighty.
What a great start from Alan Tarzich on the brakes into turn 1. Full send. Brilliant from him. Stefanko has not had the start that he needed in this race. Jordan has overtaken him. Even on the prime tyres, he's been able to get ahead. Stefanko needs to clear him ASAP if he wants to get anything out of this race. Tarzich now on the back of Krause and looking menacing. That is a man who came into this race with his eyes on only one position, and that is position number 1. We're still number 1. Sorry, we're still early on in this race, but he is definitely making his mark.
Yeah, just a little focus down the order because Pat Burleck's moving his way up. He's only up to 20th place though, as we see Stefanko. He's gone down the inside of Jordan. Jordan did not fight that one, pulls back in line. Easy as you like, not really too difficult there. I think Noah Roybers as well was the car popping out on Francesconi, who we look at now for 11th place. Francesconi getting into the dirt there. As you said though, Phil Krause right under a lot of pressure from Alan Tarzich. He said he's only got one focus in this race. His only focus is winning, and he will... Oh, I thought he was going to dive it then. Not quite. He's not got to focus on his rear end as well. He's got Matteo Caruso, who's going to be the one holding up Martin Stefanko. That said, with the pace differential between the two, I'd suggest that Stefanko should be able to get by Caruso a little bit quickly. Matteo Caruso is more of a GT driver. Phil Krause, though, closing in a sister teammate, drops in. Does Alan Tarzich? Oh, my goodness, Tarzich is off. Tarzich has gone straight on in all of that. They were trying to redress their positions, put Phil Krause ahead of Baxter. Tarzich sensed his opportunity and completely messed it up.
Yeah, he really made a hash of that, I'm afraid. He shouldn't have gone for it at that particular... I think he should have just waited, to be honest, for the final corner. He could have got a good run. Here it is again. He saw the opportunity, and he didn't need to go for it. All guns blazing there. They were trying to do that nice and coordinated. I guess he could have made that work, but it's so sketchy. This early on in the race, you do not need to do that, Alan Tarzich, and unfortunately he did. He's lost a bit of time, and now... He's very fortunate, actually, that he's got his teammate, his John Lacey Esports teammate, Matteo Caruso, in behind him to hold back the people in behind, because otherwise he might have a really feisty Dennis Jordan or Martin Stefanko right behind him at this moment. Fortunately for him, he hasn't, and he's got away with it, but he's still looking to make the move on Baxter down the inside into the chicane.
Nice.
This should be the move he wanted. That is what he got, and now down the inside maybe for Baxter. Not on this occasion. Tarzich is through, and that's a big sign for Baxter. Yeah,
does Matteo Caruso get through Craig Baxter? Just overdid it there, but that was a nice move from the two of them, and swapping that second... Oh, Alex Siebel already in the pit lane is Alex Siebel, so he's come straight in. Matteo Caruso trying to get onto the podium. Oh, there's contact. That's Craig Baxter round. It was just a half spin, just took a bit too much curb, dropped it into the rear right-hand side of Matteo Caruso, did a half spin, drops back into 6th place, still going though, so don't worry. And by the way, Noah Roybers and Francesconi have switched positions. It was a good move from Alan Tarzich, and now he's going to set his eyes on Phil Krause and getting after a race victory. And I'm sure a fan of his, Alan Dent, old Denty, will be watching.
Yeah,
he doesn't. I'm joking. No, Alan doesn't have any fans. It's fine.
Oh, okay, yeah, well, that makes sense. But yeah, Stefanko at the moment, the closest man to another car, at least, on the circuit. Matteo Caruso is the one he is looking at right now. And there's a bit of a train forming here. Jordan, Baxter and Hoyer all looking to try and get in on the action down into turn 1 once again. It's a surprisingly long straight, this one actually, the front straight, but not quite. Jordan is in, so early pit stops here. I think from what we were seeing earlier on, there might even be a little bit of fuel saving involved for Evolution Motorsport as Caruso just almost lets Stefanko through. That was a very easy move for Stefanko.
Yeah, he didn't really have to fight that as well. Michi Hoyer's been in the pit lane, as you said, with Dennis Jordan. Both in there, and this is down the order with Marocek, and they're going side by side all the way around the outside. Yuka Lalu was fancying that through 4, but Marocek hangs on at least for now. He's on, I think he was actually making a move, considering he's on the alternate tyres and Lalu's on the primes. That would have made a lot more sense. Tarzich, by the way, has set the fastest lap of the race in the previous one, closing in a 10th on Phil Kraus. We ride on board with Jone Simoncic, Jiri Toman directly ahead, these two on the alternate tyres. Toman taking victory in the previous race. He's got to take 2 sets of primes in this race. Jone Simoncic is completing his selection now, so once he's done with this set of primes, he'll be all good to go to the end.
Yeah, absolutely, but Toman will need another set, so this puts Simoncic in a great position, and this move might put him in a great position as well, right down to the inside, on the right-hand side of the road. Ooh, and does he get it? He hits the curb, and they hit each other on the exit of turn 2 as well. Simoncic still get through, though. Toman maybe back to the inside for 4, not quite. He's going to go to the outside, he's going to maybe look for a bit of a run,
sorry,
not quite.
We need to get a replay of that. P14, there was some 3 wide, some contact. I think Eros Masuli's been off the road, and I think one of the Netrex drivers, there was some massive 3 wide there behind this, and I think there's been a fairly sizable crash through all of that. At the back of the field, the likes of Dennis Jordan, Ike Siebel and Michi Hoyer are batting their way. This is what happened a little bit further. So you've got contact between Masuli. Wow. There's the 3 wide. That's Burliak coming through. Oh, sketchy. It's sketchy.
I was about to say, how did everyone get away with that? But Masuli didn't really in the end. He lost a few positions. He's down to 18th now, unfortunately. But that was bound to happen, going pretty wide on the exit turn 2 into 3. There's just not the room for those 3 cars to go all at once. And you just saw a physical demonstration of it right there. Unfortunately, Masuli learnt the hard way as back down the inside for Burlak, who's made a good start here, made some good progress. He's on the prime tyres, as he was for the first race, I do believe, and yes, he was. So this is his last stint on the prime tyres all race, and he's used it in the traffic. When he pits, he's hopefully going to find himself some free air to use those alternate strategy or use those alternate tyres, and then he can really put the hammer down and actually get some decent points out of this after all.
Yeah, I think he was given some information there by Martin Stefanko, his teammate, to be like, don't take the alternates too early, because as much as you do that Indy to come through the order, he wasn't going to slice through the order in this race. Not by Borja Malan. Borja Malan's Monaco teammate, Jeffrey Fournier, has been in the pit lane, so he's down to 24 for the last, but completed his first pit stop sequence towards the front of the field. Half a second separates Alan Tarzich and Phil Kraus. This is looking good for Tarzich at the moment. He is on the alternate tyres. He is on the softer, the red-walled softer compound tyre, the black-walled prime tyre. They're the harder ones. He's still got to take one of those at some point during this race. But taking these tyres now, it's just allowed him to clear off out front to make a gap to the likes of Jone Simoncic. He's nearly 10 seconds up the road from Jone Simoncic and Jiri Toman, which is very important for him at the moment. And, well, things seem to be coming up a bit Allen in this race.
Yeah. With all due respect to Phil Kraus, though, I don't think he is going to be the main rival for Tarzich in this race. I think he needs to be looking over his shoulder a little bit more and thinking about the likes of Simoncic and Jordan, who are going to be very, very fast towards the end. Simoncic has used both of his prime stints now. Jordan has used one of them. He's now using the soft tyres in the free air to kind of make up some ground while nobody's watching. He's come across some traffic in the form of Ricardo Costa, though, which is slightly doing his strategy in, and this is crazy in the background. Marocek, Voznica, Francesconi and Polesny all trying to go into turn 1 together.
Yeah, it was so tight between them coming out of the final corner, and it allowed Voznica to get ahead of Francesconi, and Polesny was feeling a part of that. We had a few drivers into the pit lane, including coming into this, the second place in the championship, Petr Burliak. who's in coming into his pit lane. Yukapeka Lalu, Ricardo Costa, and Borja Milan all into the pit lane. Coming out now. Maybe a little bit earlier than we expected with Bolek, but at the same time, he wants to get onto the softer compound because he'll take one more pit stop before the end of the race to get on some fresh soft compounds and then run it to the checkered flag. These drivers we're not expecting to see in until around about lap 20 or so. So they'll be circulating out on the lead. I'd suspect Jone Simoncic will be in pretty sharpish though. Not quite yet, neither's Jiri Toman, but Roivers is in from 8th place.
Yep, so Roivers is in, and that promotes Mrozek and Voznica and Francesconi and all of those guys up another position. Now, Tarzich has used one medium set. Kraus has also used, one prime set, should I say. So has Kraus. These two are on the same tyre strategy almost, but when are they going to take their second prime set? That's the question that they have remaining. And it could differ between the two of them. I'd suggest going on the alternates and then running it out as long as possible, and I think that's what they are going to do. But it does mean they're going to be embroiled in their own battle, which could put paid to both of their races if they're not smart about this. I think that's what Tarzich is doing right now. He's not overtaking purposely so that they don't lose too much time, as Jordan is having to make these overtakes. This is the problem with his strategy. He is in traffic, and deep traffic at that.
Yeah, he's really got to work it at the moment, and is the issue with pitting this early, with taking the hards as your first tyre. Jone Simoncic now into the pit lane. We'll see him do the work as well. Is he going to drag Davin Mrozek in with him? No, he's not. So Jone Simoncic into the pit lane. He's on currently the prime tyres. He's going to go onto the alternates. That's his pit stop sequence done. Whoa, trying to break the slipstream there was Kalashi. Oh no, it's Eros Mashili ahead of Dennis Jordan as they're working their way back up the order. Mashili easily defended into T1, and Dennis Jordan desperate to work his way up with Alan Tarzich, and the difference between Alan Tarzich and Phil Kraus in the previous race, the previous feature race rather. Alan Tarzich, when he came into the pit lane, he did his the prime compound in the middle of the race. So he was literally came out on the prime tyres, did however it was around here. We're looking at basically like 5, 6, 7 laps, or maybe even 10, but maybe not. He does those, completes it, and then comes in the pit lane to take the soft tyres again. Behind this, there was some close race between Siebel and Stanley as Siebel's got through as well.
Yeah, and look at the undercut that the Evolution Motorsports boys have got. Simoncic has come out 8-9 seconds behind them both. This is a great opportunity for them now. Mashuli is going to get overtaken here. He's hanging around the outside. Now can Jordan get the inside for the last corner? Not quite. He's going to have to wait until turn number 1, and this is putting pay to his strategy just a little bit. He's going to need to get past the Italian as soon as he possibly can. Down into turn 1, can he do it? The problem is he gets the outside for the next part, and that's not really what he wants, and it's holding him up quite badly at the moment. He's on newer red stripe tyres than Mashuli, and that is why he is being held up quite so much, and this is negating the advantage that they have over Simoncic right now, as wide goes Ferris Stanley in the background.
Oh, that's a shame for Stanley. He was doing very well. The thing is, though, with Dennis Jordan, if he can get by Eros Mashuli, which you'd suspect he should be able to do fairly soon, realistically, once Phil Kraus, once Alan Tarzich comes into the pit lane, they're going to be near the race lead, towards the race lead. Sounds like a great strategy. Sounds nearly perfect, considering everything that's going on at the moment. At the same time, they've still got to take another set of the alternate tyres, and they've got to go on those the prime tyres rather for a long time. They've got to stay on those hards for basically an entire stint, unless they want a 3-stint this race. Meanwhile, Tarzich and Kraus, they can come in for a small stint on the hard tyres, as overdoing the corner, Dennis Jordan 1.5 miles away from the apex, nearly the entire length of the circuit there from the apex of the 12th and final corner, and he's got his team Alex who was in exactly the same boat as Jordan, directly behind. Obviously not going to fight to T1 though.
No, they're not going to fight each other, you wouldn't expect, but it was working so well for Evolution here. It was really, it looked like at one point they were set for the victory almost. However, now with this obstacle they have in front of them, Eros Mashuli, it is really slowing them down, and Simoncic is now only 5 seconds behind them. Here goes Jordan. He's really asserting his authority now to the outside at turn 7. Is he going to be given the room around there, or is he going to go for the cutback? He's going to get the traction on the exit, is he? Well, not really. He's quite on the back, but can he get through here on Mashuli? He needs to make this manoeuvre. It is urgent at this point. He's going to go to the inside through the chicane. Can he get it done? It's going to be brave, and he's got it done. He has done that very well indeed, as Siebel makes a mistake in the background. It looks like it's almost falling apart for Evolution.
Yeah, well, he got that move done at least, did Dennis Jordan, so he's up to 9th place. I will just say, coming into the pit lane, he's already taken prime, so he's done his 2 prime compound tyres. Michi Hoyer has been in for his 2nd stop. That's why he's down in 24th place. Obviously, the previous race that he did, he was on the Redwalled soft compound tyre. That's how he got up to the position that he was in, of 3rd. Now he's down in 24th. I don't know if this 3-stop strategy that he's doing, said that Dennis Jordan had floated the idea about that it was possible, and well, Hoyer's jumping on that bandwagon, at least for now.
He is, but a long way off anybody at the moment. It's turning into a bit of a season to forget for Hoyer, but it's not over yet, of course. Still 4 rounds to go after this one, and Mashuli now is still under pressure, this time from the other Evolution car of Alex Siebel. He's going to go to the inside, almost in a carbon copy manoeuvre from Dennis Jordan. That was almost identical to Jordan's move. And he's through now. Simoncic is on the back of Ferris Stanley, and he also needs to clear the AM race winner from Indianapolis. If he can, it looks like he will be able to down into turn 1. Here we go. Oh, dear me. There's a bit of swerving there, but Stanley just lets off the gas and lets him through. So Simoncic is just under 3 seconds behind Siebel. And this is a fight, a legitimate fight for the rest of this race. Neither of them have to use the prime tyres again. Yeah, sorry, Siebel does.
Siebel does, and Dennis Jordan does. They've got to use another set of primes in this race, as they did the previous race on alternates. So Yerne's realistically in a good spot, at least for now. Well, we'll see how things unfold through the race. We're on board with David Marocek on the Redwalled softer compound tyre, just behind Yuri Toman, who's staying out quite a while on these Blackwalled tyres. Here he goes. Comes straight into the pit lane. Of course, he's still got to take another set of the alternates and then a set of the primes. You wouldn't do 2 synths on the alternates from his scenario. So he's effectively going to do one more stop and then go at the end. Goes with the Red Bulls now, which means that he's got to end the race on the black-walled tyres. Oh, is his teammate as well? That was tight.
That was tight.
Listening into the pit lane. Oh, and they're close on exit as well.
It always makes you wince when you have to pull around someone like that. But he's just about made it. Toman really needs some clean air now if he wants to make this work, but it doesn't look like he's going to get it. No. Lalu, Milan, Burlak, oh dear, that is not clear air at all. And we're talking about all these alternate strategies going on, but just look at the left-hand side at the moment. Everybody is on the red striped tyres. How on earth has that happened? I'm
sorry, I've also just noticed something else. So you say Yuri Toman comes out... Mashuli's out of the race. Well, I'm sure I heard a bit of a crash. Petr Beliak's ahead of Yuri Toman. Now, if I remember correctly, he started this race on the hard tyres and has already pitted. So to say that he's battling with Yuri Toman, let's have a look at what happened to Eros Mashuli through the chicane. See what happened to him.
Yeah.
That's intentional. That's nice. That's going to look really good for your record there, buddy.
That's a pretty big accident. And he is out of the race. 23 remaining then, the last of them, Michi Hoyer down there, Alan Tarzich still sitting in 2nd position, and now we come across the next problem that Portland presents, the lapped traffic. Even though these guys are so close on pace in the IndyPRO series, it is extremely close here. However, the Portland circuit is less than 2 miles long, and so it doesn't take you very much to actually get lapped in this one, and Hoyer is almost on the verge of being lapped. Who would have thought that at the start of this race?
That said,
FSR... Sorry, go on.
No, carry on, finish.
I was going to say, FSR World Championship race winner Michi Hoyer is about to get lapped. I didn't think that was going to happen at all.
That said, he is on fresh, soft tyres. He's taken 2 stints on the hard, so he's already been in the pit lane twice, which would have dropped him an awful lot of time to Phil Kraus and Tarzich anyway. He's now on the soft tyres. I don't think he'll go a lap down the scenario. He should theoretically be quicker than Phil Kraus and Tarzich. Here's Petr Beliak, who's already pitted once, who, in my mind, is well out of position considering where he realistically should be. He does have to pit once more. Obviously, we're a fair way from the end of the race. But that final pit stop, that final stint, he can do on these red, soft, alternate tyres. It has been a great drive thus far and great strategy from the Williams esports driver. Whether that pays dividends towards the end of the race, we'll have to wait and see. He's now got Yuri Toman on much fresh tyres behind. He's got Borja Milan directly ahead, who I'm sure he's desperate to get by. Borja Milan on the same age tyres as Petr Beliak. They've come into the pit lane at the same point, as is Jukka-Pekka Lalu directly ahead.
It's all very close in the midfield, particularly for this battle for 11th at the moment. Toman and Burlak have got the same amount of stops remaining, and Burlak is actually in a better position than Toman. Somewhat remarkably, the Czech driver, the race winner just a few moments ago, is all of a sudden might not even get a top 10 out of this in a somewhat remarkable circumstance, but there's a lot of racing still to go and a lot of things can change here. As Burlak now starts to apply the pressure to Bojan Milan, it's close through the final corner, but a good exit for Burlak. Now, is there going to be anything into turn 1? Doesn't look like he is close enough on the back of Milan, and Toman is not quite on the back. Well, I say that. He gave it a good go into turn 1, and Burlak has made a bit of a mistake, but no opening for the Czech driver in behind.
Nicely held. He'll probably make a bit of an adjustment to his anti-roll bar there, will Petr Burlak, and try and make the car a little bit more understeery considering how that entry is, or maybe a bit of a progress adjustment. There's a few things couple of little tiny things that you can do to the car, but they can't really affect anything major on the setup. It's just basically slight things to help you get to the checkered flag rather than anything else. And all over the back of Phil Kraus, 1 second clear of his teammate, Martin Stefanko. Matteo Caruso, who's a good 10 seconds further down the road in fourth. He's actually doing pretty well though. But Alan Tarzich is desperate to take a race victory here. We said it's what his main sights are on with 20 laps into the race. So we're expecting to come into the pit lane basically at some point over the next 3 or 4 laps. You just joining, thinking again, what am I watching? This is the Race IndyPRO Championship by FSR, and what a race you're missing out on. Phil Kraus leading the way at the moment, though, with Alan Tarzich down the inside into the chicane. Oh, they're going to get pushed off slightly. That was very, very close with Phil Kraus. Alan Tarzich gave more than enough room. Phil Kraus overdid the corner, hit the curb, and Tarzich straight into the pit lane with Kraus, with Stefanko. Is Matteo Caruso going to join them as well? The top 3 enter the pit lane. What tyres are they going to go on, Ewan?
Yeah, well, it looks like it's going to be more alternates for Tarzich and Kraus. But what's Stefanko. And Stefanko probably. Here we go. Yeah, it is all red stripe. Look at this traffic jam.
Oh, there's contact.
Absolute jam. Kraus. And Tarzich is out in front. Kraus has been severely disadvantaged by that.
Yeah, there was definite contact between Phil Kraus and it was very, very messy in the pit lane. You can see that that Matteo Caruso, Craig Baxter's out of the race. He didn't have a block or something. I don't know what happened with him. But either way, he's out of the race. It was a shame after a good drive. Oh, and coming into the mix, Alex Siebel as well, a part of this with Martin Stefanko going side by side through T1. That has not worked out for Phil Kraus. Alan Tarzich, that's exactly what he wanted. He's behind Dennis Jordan, who's got to take another set of the harder tyres. Behind Tadej Voracek, who's definitely got to pit again. And Alan Tarzich, that's really worked out for him. Matteo Caruso's out of the race with suspension after such a good drive as well. That contact in the pit lane's just ruined it for him. It's just ripped the rear left basically out of whack, giving it some toe. And that is a massive shame. I wonder if Phil Kraus's car as well is a little bit balked by all of that.
It looks like he's losing a little bit of pace, but one thing that Tarzich is going to be very pleased about is that Simoncic is now balked up behind Kraus, and a little bit of traffic as Toman finally makes his way past Milan for 10th. Mrocek is into the pit lane, so Dennis Jordan is going to lead the race. However, he needs to take a set of prime tyres to the end of this race. He's going to go as long as he can on these alternates, and then he's going to pit at the very, very last moment to go to the end on the primes and see if he can maybe hold off Tarzich at the very end, who's going to have 2 sets of alternate tyres towards the end. Tarzich is looking in a great, great place, and also he's got his compatriot Simoncic stuck up behind, and now here we go. What is going to happen here?
Craig Baxter's this white car that's just sat in the middle of pit lane. This is actually after the incident, so that's after the incident's happened. You can see there, he's crabbing massively down the pit lane, so there was contact between Matteo Caruso and Phil Kraus, and for those of you, Phil Kraus, he nearly loses it. Did Phil Kraus. He has suspension damage. It is ever so slightly right hand down. It's maybe like 3, 4, 5 degrees, but in this car, that's really going to throw it out. It's going to make the car very unstable, to be perfectly honest. So he's got some damage on the front right hand of Phil Kraus's HME red car, which is a shame after such a good drive. That defense from Alan Tarzich that was lasting, the opening stint of the race, things not going the way of Phil Kraus. And now Martin Stefanko and Alan Tarzich are going to go toe-to-toe for the race victory. Here's the replay. This is Phil Kraus in pit lane. As he sets off, there's the contact. It is pretty sizable. I don't know what Craig Baxter's doing there, sat in the pit lane. He made it so narrow for Phil Kraus leaving.
No, I have no idea what Craig Baxter was doing either. He might have had something urgent to attend to in real life. because that is one of the things that can happen, but it does seem strange that he would just leave his car there for no real reason. But there you have it. That's unfortunately taken Matteo Caruso out of this race. Such a shame for him. I was really enjoying seeing him come up through the field in the first race and doing really well for himself in the second one as well. Toman, look at that down the inside. Head to Berliak, and they're going to run side by side through 8 now as well. Oh, bit of a contact again. Now through turn 9, Toman's got less distance to cover, but has he got the run? Not really. Looks like Berliak, the Croatian, is going to stay in front just for now.
Craig Baxter's posted in chat that there was what was it that he said? It was a broken pit stop. So I'm assuming he had an issue with where his box was, or there was no box, or something in that vein. I'm sure we'll get an update on that. But yeah, the move there from Yuri Toman didn't quite work out on Petr Berliak. There was contact on the exit of the corner that just basically balked any progress of any of those. But nevertheless, Berliak still doing pretty well, considering he's inside the top 10 start from Stone Dead last. Has already completed his required prime tyre run. And now the battle for the race lead roars on. Dennis Jordan, Alan Tarzich, they're going to go toe-to-toe, but the realistic thing is that Jordan's on old tyres. He's also got to hit the hards once more. Here comes Alan Tarzich to the inside of the chicane. That one's never going to work. Does back out of it ever so slightly. I thought he was going to go full send there. The more that he battles, the harder that he battles with Dennis Jordan, the more that Martin Stefanko has a door wide open for him out of turn 12 onto the start-finish straight again to complete the 24th lap here at Portland International Raceway. Alan Tarzich, there we go, straight through on Dennis Jordan. Jordan did not find that. Blocks Stefanko just a little bit on the apex for T1, and so Stefanko's going to be third. Alan Tarzich hits the front with a pit stop to go.
He does indeed. Alex Siebel's into the pit lane already for his final prime tyre stint, which is quite early. 26 laps on a tank of fuel. Surely he's not going for the 3-stop. Evolution Motorsport could be trying a 3-stop strategy in this race. That would be something to behold. We'll see if they can make it work, but either way, whether it's a 3-stop or a 2-stop here for Jordan, I would have expected him to have tried to hold off Tarzich and Stefanko for as long as possible. I think it would really help his race to keep them behind, but it doesn't look like he wants to do that. Stefanko has almost been let through there by Jordan. I don't see why he doesn't just defend a little bit harder to keep those guys behind him, because he's got oh yeah, okay, so it's got to be a 3-stop surely. You said he suggested it, but it wasn't very well. We didn't expect it for sure, but it looks like it might be the only answer here, really.
I know. I think I know what he's going to do. So he's taking the Red Bull tyre. What did Alex Siebel take? Is Alex Siebel on the Red Bull tyre as well? Nope. Is he on black? So I reckon Siebel will go for about 3 or 4 laps. So he's not going to go very far. He's taking a little bit of fuel. He's going to go a few laps. He's then going to come in as we see a move from Berliak down the inside of Jukka-Pekka Laulu into T1 up to 6th place. Well done. The 2015 FSR champion moving his way up the order. With Alex Siebel, though, he's going to be on these tyres for a little bit. He's going to come in. He's going to take the Red Bull soft tyres, and then we'll go to the end. He'll come in sort of about 5 laps time once he knows that he can get to the end easily, and he's going to push on those reds and try and make as much progress as possible. His pit stops will effectively be a little bit shorter, but it's not really going to make much difference. Yuri Toman on the back of Jukka-Pekka Laulu, and no move coming his way yet.
No, not just yet, but look at this train all the way down from Laulu all the way to pretty much Roivers down in 11th place. There's 5 or 6 cars involved and even more cars in the background. You can see on the minimap just how crazy it is, and that's the disadvantage that Jordan and Siebel find themselves in at the moment. That is what's wrong with their strategy, really. Although it could pay out later on, we'll wait and find out, I guess, but I don't think it's going to be a podium finish for Evolution Motorsports car. However, could happen for sure. There's still nearly half of this race to go, and a lot of things can change in that time. But at the moment, the top 4 are miles in front of the rest of them, who are just in this crazy battle in one long line almost behind David Mosek all the way down to pretty much last position.
Yeah, for me, in my book, I'm going to say that Alex Siebel and Dennis Jordan, they'll do pretty well here. Realistically, if they can even get themselves, top 10, to be honest, they're not on the right strategy as far as I can see. The 3 stops, it was worth a gamble, but I don't think it's going to work at all. It's certainly not going to pay out in the form of a victory this afternoon. On board with Jerne Simoncic, your defending 2020 world champion, on the back of a damaged Phil Kraus, the red HME car. just had that contact with Matteo Caruso in the pit lane. It's damaged the front right of the car. And for him, I don't think there's going to be a podium chance here in the second round of the race IndyPRO Championship by FSR. And I get the feeling that the FSR World Champion himself will be filing a bit of paperwork to maybe send one down the inside at some point fairly soon.
Yeah, I think he needs to, that's for sure. Kraus has not got the pace that he had in that first stint. We think probably because of the damage that he picked up hitting the back of the Italian Matteo Caruso in the pit stop cycle. And so that is why Simracers needs to get through at the first opportunity that presents itself, really. Tarzich and Stefanko are up the road and gaining time on him. If Simracers wants to get a podium or even a race win, which I think he can still manage from here, then he needs to get through as quickly as possible. But if he doesn't, then he won't be able to win at all.
Yeah, the race is absolutely still on the cards here for Jane Simracers. They're only 5 seconds down the road, and we know how things can chop and change, especially with the strategy over the race. Marocek into the pit lane, so he'll be taking his final stop. He'll be taking softs to the end of the race. Our main focus, though, remains on this battle between realistically the top 4 Burliaks inside the top 10, and I don't think he'll get any better than that. But top 5 rather. Would be very, very good for him. Here's Jiri Toman and Jukka-Pekka Laulu. Laulu down a position. It's been a good drive from Jukka-Pekka Laulu thus far inside the top 10. And Jiri Toman making that move. Race victory earlier this afternoon. He's still got to take, by my money, another set of the harder tyres. Certainly does Jiri Toman, but nevertheless doing very well. And here's that battle for third place. Phil Kraus leading from Jerne Simracers.
Wide as well for Kraus, and now this could be the opportunity that the two-time FSR World Champion wanted. However, he's not really very close down here into turn 1. Is there going to be a dive? He's lifting off again. We've seen him do this before while we've been on board. He's lifting off and not attempting to get past Kraus, but he's faster than Kraus. I don't know why he doesn't just get through and try and catch those two in front, because if he wanted to win this race, then he could easily get through now and try and push, but he's not doing that, and it's putting paid to his chances of victory, as it seems like everybody and their dog is into the pit lane.
Right, okay, so here we go. We've got a move here from Polesny down the inside of Jan Vosnica, and that's a move for him down at T1. Well, let's talk strategy. As like you say, everyone's in the pit lane. Burliak, Costa, Lalu, Kalashi, Van den Eet, Milan, they're all in the pit lane. Just go with literally everyone. The thing is with that's a bit of a drift-do action there from Burliak to get ahead of Marocek. With Simracers has already taken his hard tyres. He's taken a hard tyre from the previous race, so he's already done basically both of his commitment. Alan Tarzich and Martin Stefanko have not done it. There's 5 seconds between the two of them. What does this allow Jerne Simracers to do with the saving of fuel? It'll shorten his pit stop for starters. Maybe not by much, by enough to maybe sneak his way up into the race lead. His pit stop's coming up quite soon, as we've got this move from Dennis Jordan down the inside of Vosnica going through the chicane. Oh my goodness me, that was close. Vosnica hangs on. That was tight with Dennis Jordan. Is Vosnica coming into the pit lane? No, he's not, so that the opportunity is still there for the German to get by Vosnica. Where is that opportunity going to come, though? I don't think it's going to be easily into T1. Yeah, Vosnica. I thought he was going to fight it a little bit harder there. I thought he was going to defend to the inside, but no, that's Vosnica down to 9th place. Dennis Jordan up to 8th. There's Noah Roivers and Michi Hoyer into the pit lane. So basically, from my entire point of what I was saying, with Simracers backing out a little bit, he knows that he's got to pit quite soon. He's just saving a little bit of fuel, trying to gain that little bit in the pit stop, more so than it is on track. We know Jerne Simracers is very, very good at that. He's coming in now. There we go. For my money, this race is swinging the way of the double world champion Jerne Simracers.
He has saved fuel very well, as we noted a little bit earlier on, or Felix behind the camera noted it first. It was a great spot, just saving fuel, trying to reduce this pit stop time right here that he's serving right now, just getting the fuel in now, and there he goes. Toman is going to go through. Francesconi and Polesny are both going to go through, and there's a bit of something going on down there with the Francesconi even at the final corner there, but he's going to get out in front of... No, he's not quite. He's sandwiched in between Jordan and Polesny at the moment. So Jordan's strategy really, really not working out here, like you would not believe. But Simracers, it's starting to come towards him. I initially doubted him, but never doubt Jerne Simracers. He will always find a way to win.
Yeah, he's desperate for the victory here. Matched the previous race, though he didn't really fight it too hard. I think he was he understood the scenario, and has come into this race and is looking very, very strong. I know he's in 6th place, but with a strategy, it can go anyway. Like, we're saying this now, it can go anyway. We know that Tarzich and Stefanko's are not fuel limited on that stop, so they're going to be 7 seconds bang on. Meanwhile, Jane Simicic's stop would have been a few seconds longer because he would have put a little bit more fuel in the car. And what I mean by fuel limited is there's a fuel flow rate. It's about 3 litres a second. It's a 37-litre fuel tank, and Simicic would have nearly brimmed it as he's on the back of Polesny, and should be a fairly simple move into T1. That 3.1 litres per second, though, that goes into Simicic's car, he obviously has to go longer than the 7-second stop that it takes to change tyres, because to do 3.1 seconds, do the maths, 37 litres, whatever. Right, so he's got to stand for longer than that 7-second stop. Well, when Tarzich and Stefanko come in, they only have to put in, say, 10, 15, 20 litres. They don't have to put in as much as the 7-second time. So their pit stop will be shorter, but they will be on the harder tyres. Yeah,
absolutely. So it's all very complicated, and these guys have all got it worked out. However, Simicic in a good place, and Tarzich and Stefanko, though, are doing the right thing at the moment. They're lapping together, but they are lapping in single file. They're not fighting each other, which is exactly what they need to do. Simicic is in free air at the moment, but Jordan is not. And for Evolution Motorsports, it's turning into a bit of a disaster. It was looking so good earlier on, but now it's not looking nearly as good. Siebel's stuck in traffic and down the order. Jordan's going to struggle to get a top 10, never mind a top 5. But he's going to make a decent start now by passing Wojtek Polesny into turn 1. There you go. 6th position for Jordan, but his day is far, far from over.
Yeah, he's still got to make another pit stop, and he's still got to take the hard tyres. It'll only be for 5 laps towards the end of the race, but nevertheless, as you say, Dennis Jordan, he's going to struggle. I think maybe, considering he's got 20 seconds to Jukka-Pekka Laulu, I think maybe a top 10 is on the cards, but it's not going to be a high position inside that top 10. Here's some racing further down the order. We've got Ricardo Costa with Francesconi, Jan Bosnica as well, recently out of the pit lane. He's going to try and slot his way through. He's on the inside of Francesconi as they head through T1. He's going to be outside of T2, completely misjudges it and turns into the rear of Francesconi, and maybe opens the door for Kalashai to come through. Oh, no, Kalashai backs out for the race leaders. Oh, no, it's not a race leader. It was Phil Krause coming through. Never mind.
Yeah, somebody's coming through anyway, and this is the problem that the race leaders have got. They're in lap traffic, and this lap traffic is fighting very, very hard indeed. And they won't want to give up their position to let you through, and that's exactly what Phil Krause is experiencing right now with a battling car, or a battling train of 3 as Yuri Toman comes into the pit lane. It's difficult to make your way through the field, especially when they're fighting. But Phil Krause there, you can see right hand down. It's difficult to tell on that curve straight where you're turning right anyway, but that is not his car's behaving. It's just not right, and so he is in pure damage limitation mode at the moment.
Yeah, he's pushing it as hard as he can, and to be fair, he's doing a damn good job in doing so. Yuri Toman, as you said, has been into the pit lane. He's taken the hard tyres, and we'll go to the checkered flag on this. This is his 2nd stint on the Blackwalled primary tyre for Yuri Toman, and realistically, maybe that strategy call in the first race didn't really work out for him, but either way, 25 points from him in the first race and a race victory. I think that's what he came to Portland wanting, and he'll salvage what he can from this race. This is Jukka-Pekka Laulu, who's just behind Yuri Toman. He is on the softer tyres, but is on older, softer tyres, and Borja Milan behind. We'll see if there's going to be any gains there for Jukka-Pekka Laulu. I think Yuri Toman, with his pace, should be able to pull away or at least match pace with Jukka-Pekka Laulu. So realistically, I think Toman's going to be comfortably inside the top 10 once the checkered flag drops in 15 laps' time.
Yeah, it's looking a bit better for him now than it was about 10 laps ago, when I really thought he was going to struggle to get maybe even a top 15. It really was not looking good for him, but it's going better now, as at the front of the field, Tarzich and Stefanko still at the front of the field. Krause is in, so these guys at the front of the field now, Tarzich and Stefanko, they're going to run their tanks dry and put on the primes as late as... not put on the primes, they're going to put on another set of alternates. So I guess it doesn't really matter when they come in from this stage, because they can make it to the end of the race either way.
No, they both do. These two both do have another set of prime tyres. You're right on the first deal. Your first assumption.
Right the first time.
Yeah, okay. You just commit to what you commit to how you feel. Alan Tarzich and Martin Stefanko still have to take a harder compound tyre. It's Jani Simicic who's good to the checkered flag from here, and he'll be pushing hard, but he's going to be on older tyres once we get to it. I don't know which way this race is going to go. I don't know who I'd be putting my money on. If you do as well, you're sat there thinking, oh, come on, I know better than this lot. Drop it in the chat. Let's see your predictions. Everyone here at the race, don't forget to give the video a like and subscribe to the channel as well, because we've got more racing like this coming up through the season. Hit the notification bell as well to know when the next race is coming up. It's in a couple of weeks' time, and that'll be at Sebring. Bumpy circuit tyres will be very key there, but focusing on today, here's the man, Jurnej Simoncic, 30 seconds down on your race leader. I haven't got a clue which way this race is going to go.
No, my head hurts, to be honest, at this race at the moment. You need a pen and paper to watch this with all the strategies that are going on. Tarzich and Stefanko are definitely going to come out in the lead of this race. I'm almost 100% sure about that, even though Simoncic is catching them at the moment because he's on newer tyres. However, as we mentioned earlier on, Tarzich and Stefanko need to put on those prime tyres. They're going to be slower. The delta between the two tyres is much bigger than we were expecting coming into the race, and it's a real big advantage for Simoncic to be on the alternates at the end of the race. However, as we saw last week, Stefanko was able to hold off. Even though they had softer tyres, he had the track position. He could hold them off. Are we going to see a similar situation today? I think we are, and I think we're going to get a fantastic battle for the race lead between three cars: Tarzich, Stefanko and Simoncic at the very least.
Yeah, keeping our eye on the comments here. We've got a lot of thoughts heading towards the two Slovenians. Alan Tarzich is leading the way, and Jurnej Simoncic, who's in third. I think we're split pretty 50-50. We've got a cheeky shot towards Bradley Smith winning the race, and I'm not too sure about that one, Amber. I think Bradley Smith's taken part in this one, considering his motorcycle racing earlier today. He's not really a sim racer anyway, so it's fine. With that though, the focus being on those two from everyone on the comments and from us here, is it drifting away from Stefanko a bit, or is he still a part of it? He's dropped off of Alan Tarzich a bit here. I think Tarzich, who's been looking after his tyres a little bit, has absolutely started lighting up the timing sheets and is going away.
He is going away at the moment. I think the race is going away from Stefanko. However, all is not lost for him. I don't think, anyway. I think he can still get a second, but I think he's going to be in second after his stop anyway, which is coming up in just a few moments' time. Obviously on lap 40 now, and I believe they came in lap 20, 21 kind of region. He can go 22, 23 laps maybe, but with the pace that Tarzich has got going on at the moment, I'd be surprised if he's got much fuel left. Yeah, interesting to see when these guys come in, but I really think you're right. The Czech driver Stefanko is going to be in real trouble here in terms of winning this race. Tarzich has just been, somewhat remarkably, he's been holding back all this time, and now he's finally decided to unleash some pace, which is astonishing given the pace this race has been going at for the 40 laps so far. To be able to step it up another level after nearly 45 minutes of driving is just incredible.
Here he comes into the pit lane. Alan Tarzich into the pit lane, locks up, hits the timing beam and drops it into pit lane. Is Stefanko going to follow him? Yes, he does. So those two into the pit lane. Jurnej Simoncic, where's he going to come out in comparison? These two will come out on harder tyres. By my mind, they're going to be ahead of Jurnej Simoncic. It's about how much Jurnej Simoncic is going to close over the final stint of this race. We'll obviously keep our eye on the timing sheet. Those that want to keep an eye on that timing sheet, view.nl.com now. Oh God, what's .nl back in the day? Race-view.com, and the timing is on there. Alan Tarzich out of the pit lane and Martin Stefanko both well ahead of Jurnej Simoncic. That's just some lap traffic. Don't panic about that. Jurnej Simoncic is coming through T1 now, so there's a good sort of 8-9 seconds between the two of them. Stefanko and Simoncic, if we include Tarzich as well. Where does it go now? Where does this race go now? Simoncic on the softer tyre, the two leading on the harder tyre. Simoncic, once he gets to the back of Stefanko, if he's got the pace advantage to do so, he's on worn tyres right now. He's also got to get through. Now do things start swinging the way of Alan Tarzich? Who's going to be better on the hard tyres? This race is very much still up in the air.
I think the pendulum has just swung again towards the other Slovenian. It's basically two Slovenians we have left in the fight for this race lead. Obviously Stefanko is there as well, but to close that margin on Tarzich is going to be very difficult for him. We thought that Simoncic would come out a lot closer to the front of the race than he actually has. So that is a little bit worrying for the two-time champion. Can he close in on that margin and get this race victory? Still though, to be able to come second and then on the podium in some kind of order again in the feature race, I think that's a pretty good day's outing. However, he will want this race win badly.
Yeah, we're looking at the battle for 4th place between Phil Krause, Dennis Jordan. Phil Krause on harder tyres and also with a slightly damaged car. Dennis Jordan on the softer tyres. But Dennis Jordan does have to come down the pit lane again, which I'm just going to double check this, that he is going to the end. He is going to the end. Petter Berliak, I think, will be in the top 5.
That's incredible.
Starting last place.
Wow.
That is an incredible drive from the number 33 Williams Esports driver, and I think that'll help them consolidate their lead in the team's championship for the Williams Esports. They were victorious in both of the opening races of the season. Berliak in the first one, Stefanko in the second, back at Indianapolis. Coming here, though, maybe they've looked still fairly fast. They've still looked like realistic, one of the strongest teams in the championship, but things did not work out in the first race for Berliak. Now, though, with Jordan, is there going to be a move on Krause? He's not particularly close. He's not lining up that final corner very well, it must be said.
No, not quite. So he's still got prime tyres to put on at the end of this race, by the way, Jordan. He's not used 2 sets yet, and there's only 7 laps of the event to go, so he's got to be in soon. He might even come in on the penultimate lap, to be honest. That could be one that he goes for. I was thinking even towards the start of this race that the less time you spend on the ultras. Meanwhile, we've got Toman battling again. Who else? With Lalu as well, who's also been in the walls. Oh, that was close on the exit of turn 3. And now Milan, who's had a good drive today, is inside the top 10, looking to make progress on Toman. Down the inside, that's so close between the two of them, but they've managed to keep it clean. Incredible racing between them. And now then, what can Milan do? Is there going to be a dive into 7? Not quite. Toman is aware of it because he's used it before, so he defends. And now Milan tries to get the run on him on the exit. He has got a bit of momentum, but I don't think he's quite going to be able to get through on this occasion.
Diebel, though, who's right at the back of this, is on the freshest tyres of all. We were saying that Evolution might struggle to get in the top 10. There was a huge lift from him there, just saving a bit of fuel, maybe just backing out of it, doesn't really want to get involved into the chicane. Considering, though, he's on the back of Milan, Toman, Lalu, Marocek as well, he could be finishing in 7th place in this race on a 3-stop strategy. Very good on his part as well. There's a move coming from Borja Milan, dives it down the inside of T1 on Yuri Toman, not quite close enough, and backs out of it. Toman, though, on these hard tyres, trying to go to the end of the race. They're definitely struggling a little bit. He might be outside of the top 10 once we get to that checkered flag. A little bit of an update on our race leaders. Borja Milan's trying to fire his way through. It is 3 seconds that Alan Tarzich is leading the way. Jerne Simicic's pace on these soft compound tyres is not good enough in any way. Oh, big moment for Borja Milan, and like Siebel sneaks his way through. But the gap, though, it's not coming down enough. It's maybe a couple of tenths a lap, a little bit here, a little bit there. Nowhere near enough to close down a 6.5 second deficit. Tarzich is in the primary seat, shall we say. He
is. He's in the driving seat for this race at the moment, and once again, that strategy has proved itself to be the most ideal. Prime tyres in the sprint race, and then 2 soft stints to start off the feature, and spend as little time on those primes in the final race as you possibly can. For the 2nd week in a row now, that strategy has paid off. Stefanko has used it to great effect on the last 2 weeks. Looks like he's going to get 2nd place in this race, and after a first last week in the feature race at least, Tarzich has now moved over to this strategy, and he's having a much better time of it in the feature race than he did last week. And so yeah, it's looking great for that strategy at the moment, because by the time that you've come out again, the guys who are on the softs have kind of worn their tyres out already anyway, so they're not going to catch you that much, as demonstrated by Simicic at the moment.
Yeah, he's struggling on those tyres. It's like, to be honest, last week I would have said that Dennis Jordan's strategy of doing the hard tyres first, then the 2 softs, was the best strategy. This week, though, it does seem doing the soft, and then the hard tyres, that seems like the best strategy, thus showing that the strategy is ebbing and flowing round to round, track to track. What we're going to see when we get to Sebring in a couple of weeks' time, we have absolutely no idea. 5 laps to go here in the race IndyPRO Championship at Portland. Down the inside for Milan on Yuri Toman. Oh, it was close. It didn't quite work out, but he was definitely committed to the idea of potentially lobbing one down the inside. And Yuri Toman hangs on to live and Alex Siebel, who's in 9th place. is now closing on the back of Marocek, thinking he can get a top 7. We're waiting to see where Dennis Jordan's going to come out once he comes in for his final stop. He's in 4th place at the moment and waiting to take a final stint on the hard compound tyre. He's leaving it as late as possible. Doesn't come in this time. He's got 4 laps to do it.
Yeah, he has not very long at all. And when he does, it's not going to look good for him, that is for sure. Meanwhile, down the order just a little bit with the Toman, Milan and Roivers. This is a good battle and it would be a very deserved top 10 for Milan if he could get it. Toman, though, don't forget, won the first race here, the sprint race, the first race this evening about an hour ago. And it's not looking quite so good for him right now. It doesn't look like he's quite got the pace that he did about an hour ago either. So not really sure what's happened to him, but his strategy has definitely not helped him out, that is for sure. It's all going on in the midfield, but I think Dennis Jordan might be about to join it, unfortunately for him.
Yeah, I'm kind of glad we don't have a driver of the day award that we have to pick, because my goodness, picking from one of these drivers. There are so many good drives on the table. You've got the likes of Tarzich, Stefanko, Simoncic, they've all done very well. The likes of Kraus, who's driving around with a damaged car in 5th place at the moment. Burliak, there comes Dennis Jordan into the pit lane for his 3rd stop. Burliak, who's worked up from the back of the grid nonetheless. Jukka-Pekka Laulu inside the top 10, doing a great drive. Realistically, to be honest, Dennis Jordan, Alex Seaborn, I know they're on the wrong strategy, but they've done well considering their 3 stops. Whoever you think is driver of the day, post it in the chat now. Let's have a conversation and find out what's going on over the final few laps of this race. There goes Dennis Jordan out of the pit lane. He's going to be ahead of Jukka-Pekka Laulu, and he's going to be in 6th place on a 3-stop strategy.
Not bad from him today, but what could have been for him, really, I think, anyway. He could have had so much more if he just went for the conventional 2-stop, just followed everybody else, but I guess you don't know until you try the strategy, and so that's what he's done on this occasion. You know, he's gone on to the primes at the very end of the race. He spent not very long on them, so that will advantage him, and his teammate is not doing too badly either. It's not a bad day for Evolution Motorsports as a whole, but it's for me, it's a story of what could have been.
The thing is, though, is that they both, I think it's more of like what they should have done in the first race, because the thing is, they're ahead of Jiri Toman, who also had to take 2 hard compound tyres in this race. So realistically, it's not great, but it's not really it's not terrible. Borja Milan has dropped back behind Noah Roivers. Now they're going to go side by side to the chicane. Penultimate lap of the race. Oh, that was close, and Borja Milan was nearly fired off through the chicane. Hangs on though, and Noah Roivers in 11th place, another contender. He's doing very, very well for Netrex, moving up towards the back of Jiri Toman, the previous race winner.
Yeah, absolutely, and what a change a race has made for Toman, finding himself all the way down there, involved now with the Marocek indeed, and Roivers. Milan was nearly going to get a top 10, I thought, a couple of laps ago. He was going side by side with Toman, but he couldn't make the move stick, and now he's been passed by Roivers. Meanwhile, at the front of the field, final lap has just been started by Alan Tarzich. Simoncic is really starting to apply the pressure to Stefanko, but I think he's about to run out of laps.
Yeah, we are on the final lap of the race. Driver of the day, we've got a few people in chat saying it's either between Simoncic or Alan Tarzich. Alan Tarzich, though, he's doing his duty at the front of the field. A good couple of seconds clear of Martin Stefanko, who's not too far clear of Jene Simoncic, but I think he's running out of opportunities. He's really realistically only got one more. Alan Tarzich, he's doing it for Dente. He's trying to take that race victory that he was snatched at the start of the season compared to Burliak. Stole that one in the first round. Alan Tarzich, though, what a drive it's been. Matteo Caruso did a great drive in the first race to join him. It unfortunately didn't go his way so far through this race. It fell apart really once it came to that first pit stop. But Tarzich, he's doing the duty for Jean Alesi Esports Academy, and Tarzich departs the final corner. It is victorious here at the Portland International Raceway. Race 4 of the season goes the way of Tarzich. Stefanko hangs on for second. Jene Simoncic happy with third, seemingly, with that. And Phil Kraus, big shout out. The damage to the car is going to come across. I think he's going to crawl across the line just ahead of Peter Burliak, considering how slow he's coming through the game. But Phil Kraus going to hang on for a very well-deserved 4th place. And Burliak from 24th on the grid plus 19 to P5. That is an impressive drive.
Yeah, that is a superb drive from Burlak, fully deserved as well. Great recovery after a disastrous sprint race over the line. Now the crazy battle between Jordan, Lalu, Siebel, Mrotzek and Toman rounding off the top 10, and then they're all going to cross the line together in the background. Roivers nearly got Toman in the end, but not quite. Milan will be disappointed with 12th, then Polesny, Costa, Voznica to round off the top 15. But what a great drive from Tarzich. What a great race that was for the second week in a row. And I'm kind of disappointed we have to wait 2 weeks for Sebring.
No, we do at least get to have Bruno. We get to go over all of the strategy between the previous 2 races. And for you sitting at home wondering, well, you know, the 2 short circuits that we do, maybe the strategy they're going to learn from it and they're going to come into, oh, nice little slip and a slide in from where's the donuts, Alan? Come on, man. Next round we go to, though, we're talking these tracks have been a minute 10 a lap. They've been quite short circuits. Next round that we go to, when we go to Sebring, it is a long lap. It is a very different style of circuit that we're going to next time, and how that's going to play into the scenario, we'll have to wait and see in a couple of weeks' time. He doesn't like interviews, but nevertheless, we're going to get one anyway. We've got to. Alan Tarzich, race winner. Well done. How does that feel?
Felt good to win something.
So strategy-wise, we had a little chat between the races, between Indianapolis and here. Were you sure that this was the right strategy you wanted to take, or
no?
Was it kind of like
I'm never sure. I'm never sure.
Do you not pick take anything from Jay?
It's the most straightforward strategy I could come up with, so we took it.
So you seem to. Was there any sort of like eyeing up what Stefanko was doing in the last round, playing up the strategy there, or was it just basically trying to cover off through the entire race?
No, I knew I had the pace, so I qualified well, and then there was only one way to go, basically.
Wow, thank you, Alan, and thanks for a rare interview from
thanks, Lewis.
No worries. Congratulations on your victory for the Jean Lacey Esports Academy. You got a few fans in the chat. Don't worry about that. Martin Stefanko, next one up, race winner last week when we did the feature race, comes into this, finishes second, well deserved second. Are you happy with that?
Yeah, I'm pretty happy. In the end, I did the maximum I could. Didn't really make any mistakes. So yeah, I pushed as hard as I could. Alan was unfortunately for me a little bit better on tires than I was, so I was struggling a bit towards the end in both stints. So I lost a little bit of time there, and but yeah, I was happy with the pace. I was happy with how I drove, and sixth place in the sprint race was the maximum because there were a lot of guys on the alternate, the fast tire. So there was not a point to fight them really, because they were like 1 second faster if they are in clean air. So there was really no point in finding them. So I finished sixth. That was the maximum, and then did the best job I could in the feature race, then finished second. So it's a good haul of points, and I'm happy.
Yeah, playing the long game there then, and sort of almost sacrificing the sprint race. Is this something do you think to sort of stick with everyone, like going into the next couple of rounds? Obviously, we've got 2 more road course races to go. We've had 2. How much are we learning from strategy on that? Are we sacrificing the sprint race and just hoping for the best in the feature?
It's tough to tell. I mean, you could go both ways. I was pretty confident with the strategy that I had last round and this round as well. But like I said before, it could be different depending on the track that we're driving on. So next race it could be different, or it could be the same thing. It depends. It depends what you want, really. It also depends on the qualifying and how well you do in the sprint race, and that can also change the strategy a little bit. But it's hard to tell. It's hard to tell right now still. But like I said, I was pretty confident with my strategy. But we'll see what happens in the next rounds.
Well, thank you, Stefanko, who finished second place. We'll run across to Jerne Simončić, Burst Esports, third place, second place in the sprint race as well. A double podium here, Jerne, which, considering how things have been in the Race IndyPRO Championship, that's pretty impressive consistency.
Yeah, I was more consistent in the first round, double fourth place, but then I realized that consistency is not really the way to go, because you need to win one race, and then the other race, it can go a bit worse. So yeah, still happy with 2 podiums. Unfortunately, I could not get the win, but I have to say thank you from bottom of my heart to Alan for holding up everyone in the sprint race, so I could at least finish P2. So yeah, in the feature race, I never expected to be like catching P2 at the end, so I was just trying to get the P3 from Phil Kraus. So I compromised myself a little bit here and there, drove a bit safer, saved some fuel to get him, and it was successful. But then, if I knew before that I would have the pace to catch P2, maybe I would have gone a little bit different way, more risk. But yeah, really happy with today's race.
Okay, considering that you needed an Alan Tarzich train to effectively hold onto second with relative ease in that sense. When it comes to next round, are you looking at what happened with like Dennis Jordan and Yuri Toman, who didn't really have a great second race? Are you kind of thinking, well, maybe there's a bit of risk? You say like you've got to win a race. Is there a bit of risk involved in maybe trying to take a race victory in the sprint race by using the soft compound? Is that sort of on the cards?
Yeah, I think there are 4 or 5 possible strategies that could win the race, considering or like depending on how the traffic is, how the race unfolds. So I feel like in the first event we learned a lot, but it did not necessarily apply for Portland. And here at Portland we learned a lot, and it will not necessarily apply for the next round because the race dynamic will be different. So yeah, something to look into for sure.
Well, thank you, Yanni Simracers, double world champion, Burst Esports, third place in the feature race, second place in the sprint. Final interview then to Yuri Toman, who was doing very well last round of the feature race. This time spiced it up. Sprint race was your target, took victory in that. The feature race, they really didn't quite work out for you there, Toman.
Yeah, for sure. I tried a little bit of a different strategy for the sprint race. Put on the softer tire, tried to win it, and it worked out well for me. But obviously, because I had to take the 2 primary tires for the feature race, obviously I was at a bit of a disadvantage, which played a big role in the race. Obviously, I tried to maximize the second stint on the soft tire, which didn't work either because I got held up behind a few other guys. But yeah, I'm happy for the win. A bit disappointed in the second race because P10 is not very. It's not a good position for me after the first race. But yeah, some good points gained today.
You learn from experimentation, though, and sometimes throwing in something like that in the first race to spice up a result and stuff across the championship, sometimes worth the risk. But are you going to return to how things were at Indianapolis, taking a more reasonable and predictable strategy? Or are you going to take some more risks there?
Honestly, I don't know, because it depends on many things. How you get held up in the traffic and how easy it is to overtake on the different tracks. So I have no idea, obviously, honestly, what I'm going to do next race. But we'll try to assess what's the best strategy and go from there.
I'm sure no matter what, we're in for an exciting round in a couple of weeks' time. Thank you, everyone, for joining us in the interviews. That was Yuri Toman, who won the sprint race here at the Portland International Raceway. Ewan, final things to go over. Another crazy race coming back in a couple of weeks' time. Sebring, you're expecting a similar kind of fireworks.
Well, yeah, we all are at this point. It's going to be very good to see what happens there on the 11th of October down at Sebring. I would argue that this Portland race is not quite as crazy as at Indy, but nevertheless still very, very interesting and very, very exciting to see what happened. Good racing, as always, in FSR. Thoroughly enjoyed it and can't wait for a couple of weeks' time when we go to Sebring, where we're going to get, I'm sure, some great racing once again in the IndyPRO series.
Yep, 11th of October, we'll be back for the Race IndyPRO Championship by FSR. Of course, huge thanks to the people helping us bring this championship. Support from IMB Raceway, 3Rap and SimLab, and of course, The Race, who have been hosting this broadcast. Massive thanks to them. Don't forget to subscribe, hit the notification bell, keep your eye out. They've got live coverage of the British GT Championships, round 7 and 8, and they've also got coverage of round 5 of Super GT, and there's plenty of other videos for you motorsport fans out there. Until a couple of weeks' time when we're back, thank you very much for watching. I've been Lewis McGlade, Ewan O'Leary alongside me. Until next time, goodbye.